Welcome back to Independent Blazers. I'm Dan.
Joe.
And today, Joe, not Joe and I, but just Joe himself, is going to talk about what, Joe?
We're going to talk about American football. I'm going to give the subscribers two games, one from college and one professional, NFL, and give you what I think. I'm going to give an analysis of what I think and what I think the viewer should do, or what I would do, and the viewer can follow if they want.
That's fair enough. This is Joe's territory all the way. This time I'll say like, subscribe, bang the notification bell as it helps the algorithm. Please share with your friends. And please start following us on X, formerly known as Twitter. Now, Joe, you take the stage.
Well, first, before we get into this real quick, folks, I just want to say, number one, this is for entertainment purposes only. Number two, we're not claiming any financial advice when we're breaking down these games. This is for entertainment purposes only. So look, don't spend your rent money on this. I'm not a professional. I'm a super fan. Don't spend the junior's milk money on this. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to talk about college football. And I have a game right here. And that game I'm going to talk about is a battle between the Clemson Tigers and the Florida State Seminoles. Now, first, let's talk about the Clemson Tigers. Let's give them a preview. The Tigers, in the opening game of the year, were destroyed. Georgia destroyed them. In the opener, the score was 34-3. Georgia pretty much manhandled Clemson. But however, the next two games, Clemson got back on track. They beat Appalachian State 66-20, and then they beat NC State 59-35. Last week versus Stanford, the Tigers scored double-digit points in 3 of the 4 quarters, and they ended up being a blowout victory of 40-14. Clemson's quarterback, Cade Klubnik, finished with 255 yards, 4 scores, and an interception. Clemson's leading receiver, Bryant Wesco, caught 2 balls for 104 yards and a touchdown. So that's what Clemson's been doing. Let's look at Florida State. It's been a tough year for the Seminoles so far. Over on the Seminoles side, they opened up the year with 3 straight losses. And obviously those defeats came courtesy of Georgia Tech, 24-21, Boston College, 28-13, and Memphis, 20-12. Now, Florida State finally got back on track with a win over the University of California in week number 4. But however, in their last outing versus SMU, which is Southern Methodist University, Florida State was able to hang around in the first half, but then they got outscored 28-7 in a 42-16 loss. So when we look at these two teams, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be honest. Normally, I am an underdog guy. I usually don't believe in betting in favorites. Now, folks, normally I always believe in taking points. So say, for example, the spread's plus 10, just for an example. That means you already have a 10-0 lead going into the game. You have 10 points. Minus is obviously the favorite. So in this, now, as of the time of this recording, depending on what book you are using, okay? As of the time of this recording, the spread on some books is 15 points, minus 15, or 14.5. Me, I'm going to go against what I normally do. I'm going to bet the favorite this week. And as of the time of this recording, Clemson's favored by 14.5 points. You can go on different sites like Bet365 and other sites, and the point might be a half point different, maybe even a point. I'm staying with Clemson. The Tigers looked good against an overmatched Stanford team last weekend. They had 405 yards of total offense, 255 of that passing. 6.6 yards per play in that victory over Stanford. Clemson was, they did struggle on third down a little bit. They were 5 of 12 on third down. They did allow 236 rushing yards allowed. They're going to need to work on that and adjust on that. Their defense is going to have to tighten up on that, especially as they go along later in the season. But overall, it was a solid win. And since being blown out against Georgia in week 1, Clemson has managed to string together a bunch of victories. Now, as for Florida State, they were only able to muster 285 yards of total offense. 222 of those were passing, 13 first downs. They were 3 of 12 on third downs. Here's the bad part. They had 10 penalties. They have to tighten up the discipline there. They had 3 interceptions versus SMU in their latest loss. Now, the Seminoles may be able to set the pace in the first half this weekend, I believe. But in the end, I think Clemson will wear them down in the second half. I don't think they'll be dominant enough to cover, even at home. Hey, should be a good game, though. But my pick, Blazers, is Clemson minus 14 and a half. And even if it was 15, minus 15, I think Clemson wins by more than 2 touchdowns. Again, this is for entertainment purposes only. And again, when you bet, this is just my advice. If you bet, don't chase your losses, okay? Don't chase your losses. Stay within a budget. Once again, don't bet. Don't bet the milk money, the food money, the rent money, the children's college fund. This is for entertainment purposes only. Okay, folks. Next, we're going to go to the NFL. I picked an interesting game here for you guys, for our subscribers. In the Indianapolis Colts at the Jacksonville Jaguars. This game is Sunday, October 6th. The kickoff time in America will be at 1 p.m. So right now, if you're in Thailand, it's at midnight. So depending on where you're at in the world. Okay, if you're in Europe, this game will probably be 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening. The locations will be at Everbank Stadium in Jacksonville, Florida. If you want to watch this game, it will be in America. It will be on CBS in the Jacksonville, Florida area. Okay, the point spread on this, it opened at 2.5. Now it's up to Jaguars minus 3. The over and under is 46.5 as of the time of this broadcast. And real quick, let me just backtrack. I should have gave the over and under in the Clemson one. I did not. I apologize for that. I'll be better prepared that next time. But the over and under is 46.5. Some books 47. So what does that mean for you all? What is an over and under? So you have these 2 teams playing. So for example, if you pick over and both teams, the Jaguars and Indianapolis Colts combined, score over 46.5 points, that means you'll win your bet. Now, if you pick under, you want the game to go under 46.5. Once again, the spread now is minus 3. Okay, Everbank Stadium is where the Jacksonville Jaguars will look to get their first win over the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday. Okay, so from the Vegas odd makers last week, this game opened at 2.5. As of the time of the Independent Blazer recording here, it's now at 3. So the over and under, once again, is 46.5, could be 47 in some books. The Indianapolis Colts are 2-2 this season. The last time they took the field, the Colts put a minor upset against the Pittsburgh Steelers, 27-24. Jonathan Taylor, the Colts' outstanding running back, led the offense in rushing for the Colts with 21 total carries for 88 yards, 4.2 yards per carry. Michael Pittman Jr. averaged 18.8 yards per catch, totaling 113 yards on 6 receptions for receiving. Obviously, Joe Flacco is filling in for the injured Anthony Richardson. Joe Flacco won 16 of 26 for 168 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had a quarterback rating of 105.9, so that's pretty good. And he did not turn the ball over. He did not throw an interception. Against the run, the Colts were weak, conceding 122 yards on 30 attempts, which is about 4.1 yards. So they are a little soft on the run. The Colts allowed 22 pass completions on 34 attempts for a total of 282 yards. That's a total completion rate of allowing 64.7% of passes completed. So on the day, they tallied 62 plays, which gave them a total of 358 yards. The Colts ran the ball, though, a total of 32 times on offense at 133 yards. They averaged 4.2 yards per carry. So when you look at the Colts defense, they can be scored upon, but they do have a pretty good offense, even with a veteran quarterback in Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco, as you remember, was the quarterback that led the Ravens to their Super Bowl win back in the 2011 season. And he's a veteran. He's been around a long time out of the University of Delaware. So for the season, the Colts have tallied 1,305 total yards for the season. Indianapolis has a total of 31 first downs offensively. But however, they've been called for 20 penalties for 156 yards. So when it comes to touchdowns through this first part of the season here in the NFL, Indianapolis has earned 5 touchdowns through the air and 6 touchdowns on the ground. But they have turned the ball over 6 different times. And as a team, they're averaging 131.8 yards in the run game. That has them ninth in the league, so that's upper echelon. That's pretty good. So Indianapolis is scoring 21.3, or averages 21.3 points a game. So again, when you look at this team, Indianapolis has some good. Their defense can use some improving. They rank 26th in surrender and giving up on defense. They've surrendered 940 yards, 235 yards per contest through the air. And again, for the season, they've allowed 68.9% completion rate. So offenses against the Indianapolis Colts defense, they can pass the ball on the Indianapolis defense. And why do I go this deep? Because I believe the Jaguars, who have an 0-4 record, have had some tough luck. Obviously, they got blown out against the Bills in Buffalo. Many teams get blown out in Buffalo. When they were on the football field last week, the Jaguars were defeated by the Houston Texans 24-20. Trevor Lawrence had 2 touchdowns. He had 169 yards passing, 18 for 33 passing, and his quarterback rating was 89.1. He kept the ball away from the defense with no picks. Brian Thomas was featured in the passing game for the Jaguars. He caught 6 passes for 86 yards. That's 14.3 yards per catch. Tank Bigsby ran the ball 7 times for 90 yards. So when you look at this, even though the Jaguars are 0-4, they have some weapons. They've had some tough losses. They lost a tough one in Miami. Technically, and I'm wearing a Miami Dolphin hat. As a Dolphin fan, I'll admit, they technically should have won that game. The Dolphins got a late turnover. They got lucky, and they held on, quite frankly. So the Jaguars ran the ball well last week for 6.6 yards per attempt on 24 carries for a total of 158 yards. Now, Jacksonville also surrendered 26 runs for 101 yards, 3.9 per carry. Not totally bad. Not great, but not bad. It could be worse. So the Jaguars also have a weak pass defense where they give up a completion rate of 67.5 completions. So, and Houston had 334 yards on 27 out of 40 passing, their quarterback. So the Jaguars, again, they're averaging 285 yards per game, which ranks them 25th in the NFL. They also have an average of 126 yards a game, 0.3 yards a game on the ground. The Jaguars' offense, though, has had 27 penalties for 213 yards, and that's about 16th. They're average in the penalty, giving up a penalty. So the Jaguars have surrendered 7 touchdowns so far via in the air. That puts them 31st in the league. To me, I think this can be a high-scoring game. But I'm not going to lay out what I think of the over and under. Who do I think will win this game? I think the Jaguars are long overdue for a win. Take the 3 points. I think the Jaguars pull a minor upset over the Colts, and I believe the Jacksonville Jaguars will win this game. All right, folks, once again, this is for entertainment purposes only. And if you want me to continue to do this, let me know. Also, last week, by the way, if you go look on our X account, our X Independent Blazers account, formerly known as Twitter, you'll see I went 2-1 on Survivor picks last week. So, Dan, anything you got to add?
This? No, absolutely nothing to add, as sports are not my thing, they're your thing. But I will say to the folks, please, again, like, subscribe, share, bang the notification bell. It helps the algorithm. Grab your independent mind. And Blaze, oh yes, and please follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter.
And also, we have an email. Also, it'll be right below. If you have any comments, questions, or any recommendations of what you want to hear, you can also email us. And we'll have that below. All right, folks. Wherever you're at in the world, have a great day, night, evening, wherever you're at.